Good morning, evening, night, YouTube. My name is Kenny. Thank you for checking out the channel. Today's video is going to be really simple. It's not going to be about the quads that I typically do, as you can see from the title. This is going to be about my sandblasting setup. I have had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me like what I've done, what my setup is, what I'm using, things like that. So we're going to go over that really quickly. Take about 10 minutes to go over that whole process of exactly what I do with different parts and how I set it all up. Then we're going to get this video closed out. So if you want to be able to doing some sandblasting in the future, you'll know the products that I use and the luck that I've had with it. However, I'm not going to go over all the details and all that stuff like that because I don't really know exactly what the CFM is for my DeWalt air compressor. However, I do know it did meet the standards that I wanted when I purchased it, and that was like a year ago. So I'm not going to go through all the specs. I'll just let you know the make and model, and we'll go through those things like that. But of course, before we get too far in this video, if you enjoy this kind of content that I put out, hit that like button and subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that the next time I upload a video, you all will be notified. And you can follow these builds and you can follow my videos along in the future. So let's get rolling. Yeah, it's a mess over here, but that's not what it's about. First and foremost, I do have a DeWalt air compressor. It is a 240 volt. It is the model DXCM601. 60-gallon tank, gets to 155 psi, and obviously, well, we'll just talk about it right here. It is 11.5 S CFM. So at 90 psi, so it works well. It does great, actually. So one of the things is I did have a simple Craftsman air compressor that was like a 15-gallon. Did not work the best. I had one of those tiny sandblasting cabinets that you can get from Harbor Freight. And it worked decently, but you had a good 5 minutes before you could feel the flow slowing down. With this one in my current setup, I can actually blast and it'll turn on. And while I'm actually blasting, it will turn off because it repressurizes and fills up with air. So that's a huge plus to have a good, adequate air compressor. I mean, you can't do this if you don't have any kind of air, any kind of flow. I think when I got this thing, it was around $600. Now with the market up like that and everything like this, it was around like $800, $900 last time I saw it on Harbor Freight. Last time I saw it in Tractor Supply. But it works great. I did put me like a little T over here with a shutoff valve, and we have a water trap. I still get plenty of rain out in my hose. This is a simple Harbor Freight Flex hose, but it does exactly what I need it to do, and I don't have any problems with that. So I did have to run 220 out to my building, so out in my shop. Now there's a 220 outlet back here that's wired in, and I also have 220 for my oven, but we're not talking about the oven. Next thing we're going to do is go to the cabinet that I'm using. Cabinet setup. Simple Harbor Freight 40-pound capacity cabinet. I bought this and I could not get it to work right with that siphon setup. But the cabinet I did the lid mod to where the lid's able to open like this, and I put my parts in there because I would just get so much media on the ground when I use that door. I have some basic lights in there. This one fell down. But everything is kind of silicone for the most part up. It is not airtight. It doesn't need to be because I'm running a rigid vacuum cleaner at NXT wet and dry shop vac. It is, let's see if I can find the model on it. Tells me what filters to use, wet and dry, but I'll take a peek at the other side if I see the model or anything. Nice and dusty. But anyways, I'll post a picture of it here from when I got it from Harbor Freight. When I got it from Home Depot. It works great, has plenty of suction power, its own wheels. I take it outside whenever I'm ready to get my media out. I take it outside, I wash it with the water hose, let it sit out in the sun, dries out, we're good to go. One of the dust deputies, this works pretty good along with that. So it filters out a lot of the dust and keeps it from getting there. And you're still going to get dust in your filter. However, I don't have nearly as much dust and stuff inside there, but I still have plenty of it inside of my vacuum cleaner. Got a standard bucket. I actually just took the bottom off of this bucket and drilled it on the ground or taped it onto the base so that you're able to just pick this up out of the base, as you see, and then it just sits back in its location. So that's that. I use the black diamond abrasive. It does pretty well. Now when it's time for me to change my media, what I do is put my media here. I put the screen in there. This is just a window screen from Walmart. Then I'm able to open this up. And then I let it drain out. Just gonna let it drain just for a little bit so you all see the purpose of it. The screen, see how it filters out, and it's gonna get some of the bigger stuff out of it. Because if you use too big of media, it'll clog up your gun and things like that. But for the most part, I'm gonna close that up. All right, so right here, you see some of the stuff that it did strain out, some of the bigger stuff. So that's the purpose of that. I also have the Harbor Freight hopper, and it's ran directly into the hose, into the cabinet. Jesus, I'm all off on my words. You plug the air in here, turn it on, and then I kind of sit here, and when I use it, I'm in the cabinet with my hands inside the cabinet, and I use my knee to turn my flow on, and then I go underneath the foot pedal to adjust my media down here and have my media coming through until I get a nice wave, like a nice form stream of media that I want coming out. If it fit in there, I use it. Have everything on the surge protector. As soon as I switch that on, the vacuum's on. So as soon as I switch that on, the vacuum's on and my lights and stuff are all on. I replace those little sheets that they use here with the actual glass. You can get that from Lowe's as well. I have a couple of extra pieces on top of my oven. And there are a couple of extra pieces. You can see right here. There's 2 extra pieces on the bottom right there. So when that gets beat all up, I just put it in the trash and move along. Now, how do I blast my frames? I blast my frames right here outside. What I do is I have a big piece of industrial strength plastic and I lay that down, and it goes from maybe here down to the end of that railroad tie, and it goes across. And I have an old clothing rack that I just sit out there and I set the frame on and I just start blasting. As far as it goes for eye protection, I do use a mask, a hat, ear protection to keep the media all out of my ears, and goggles. But I did decide to go ahead and try something from Harbor Freight. To try something from Tractor Supply. This is the thing. It gets crazy hot out in the summer doing this, so I did not want a hood. But I'm going to give this hood a try. So we're going to put that hood on and see how it fits. And hopefully it's going to do the same thing. Keep the media out of my eyes, keep the media out of my ears. And it keeps the media from going all down to my shirt and all up in my hat. So that's my blasting setup. Once I've emptied that hopper out outside, because the hopper just comes out and I just put it out here. Once I've emptied it out, what I do is gather it all back up with a shovel, strain it back through the bucket, put it back in there. And typically for a frame like a blaster, it takes me like 1.5 tanks. So I have to fill it up once. For a Banshee, it takes me 3, so I have to fill it up twice. So that's about it. If everyone want to know what I use and how my blasting setup is, I don't use anything super abrasive for the one. I would like to do a little bit more abrasive, but I can't get it to go through the gun. Every time I try to use the bigger stuff, it clogs up my nozzle, it clogs everything up, and it's more of a pain in the butt for me than anything else. After you use it, it will break down smaller, but I go ahead and just use the smaller stuff in the beginning. So hopefully I answered everyone's questions, and if you have any more questions like that, let me know in the comment section, and I will be seeing you all in the next video.